did she teach you anything? Did you learn anything from her about taking criticism?
Oh, yeah. No, my mom, first of all, she gave criticism pretty well. Second, you know, my dad was in public life. My dad was a congressman, a senator during the 60s and lost an election here because he took a stand against the Vietnam War. And that was very important to our family. And my mother and my father both explained that to us, is that there are going to be people who are going to take a different approach and a different perspective. They're going to be critical, but you have to do the right things in life. And that comes with criticism, and it comes with people who feel differently about a particular issue. But if you believe in it and you think it's the right thing to do, you need to keep with it. It's your passion. It's what you got to do. And my dad told us he would lose the election. My mother was there too, and he did. And it was probably because of his position. But he never regretted it for one day.
What in the 2 years that you took care of your mother, and they were going through divorce, well, they already divorced, what was the most difficult moment in that time?
Well, probably the loneliness. She didn't have her partner there. You know, her son it's great, but I couldn't fill all the roles. My father was still very close to her. They loved each other. He was there the day she died in our house. So he was very close to her. And in fact, she wrote a final letter to us, which I think I shared with you, which actually my father sat down with her and actually wrote it down as she spoke about it. So they were very close, but you know, he was in Washington. He had remarried, and there was a difference. So when I went to work and Mom was alone and she's struggling with what she had, she never wanted to share that with us. She was trying to protect us, shield us from all of that. And you know the struggles when someone's ill and terminally ill. She had lovely friends, great friends, and many of them, but there still had to be something missing for her, and I always regret that.
I can't believe you stayed at home for 2 years, 23 to 25.
Well, I was working as an intern at the NFL. Right. I was working, but I lived at home during that period of time, and I would never regret a single day of that. It was my chance. I often say this to people when someone that's close to you is sick, is that don't have any regrets. You know, make sure you spend the time that you think is necessary. Do what you think is necessary to express what you want to express, so that when the individual's gone, you don't have those regrets. And I got that time with my mom. My brothers didn't as much, but I did every day, and that was a blessing for me.
How do you think your mom shaped you to be the man that you are today?
Well, one, she was pretty good with the discipline. And so I think discipline, why I believe in it so much, I think there are consequences for your actions, and she taught that. There's accountability there. That clearly was a big issue. She was incredibly determined as an individual. She made things happen. She had an influence on people. She had an influence on life. There was never a challenge she wasn't willing to take on. She was a leader in the community, and that was important to her. But her first priority were her 5 boys, and you felt that. So you felt this constant, yes, I want him to be better, I want my boys to be better, but also that support of saying, I'll be there if you fall, I'll be there if you trip. And she always had that. And it was a unique blend of, I want you to be better, I'm going to be tough on you, but you know I love you more than anything, and I'm going to support you.
So that was a feeling that you got from her. That's not words that she would say to her.
No, that was, you felt it. And that was a great thing about it. We were very fortunate. She was a unique individual in the way she expressed her character. She was very honest with people, but people loved her because she was so honest. She wasn't negative when she told you something honest. She wasn't negative when she told you something critical. It was more to be direct and truthful and allow you to be better for it. And that was something that stayed with me, and I try to do that myself, whether it's personally or professionally.
You told me before that you learned courage from her. She was so courageous. When she was sick, you learned courage, you learned strength from her.
Yeah, I think, when you're there, when you're see the highs and lows. I mean, she would have to drive, when I was unavailable, she'd have to drive herself down for chemotherapy at Sloan Kettering. I couldn't necessarily be there all those times. She would do it herself, and in fact, she preferred it in some ways because she didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want us to go through that. She was a nurse by training, so she had some medical knowledge, medical background. But she didn't want us to feel that fear and that isolation, I think, when you're sick and you're terminally sick. And she knew it, and she always, I don't want to say hid that, but she never put that burden on us, even though we all felt it in our own ways. Because, you know, when your mom's dying, that's a tough thing for kids at that age. And we had to learn how to deal with that and cope with that. And she made it easy to do that because she was so strong, she was so courageous, and she was willing to do the things she needed to do to protect her children till the day she died.
So what is an example of, like, protecting your children? That
Shielding them from the fear of losing a parent, the fear
how did she do that? How did that manifest? Like, you had to be scared to death at 25, losing this person. Yeah,
but she had that. I think that's where her sense of humor came in, because she would joke at the most inopportune times, in my view. She could get bad news, and she would, you know, just break out in laughter all of a sudden. And she would cry in a second, but then she would be back in laughing about something. And again, I think she just didn't want us to get down about it. She knew that it was going to be difficult for us, but she put us first, and it's true even in the divorce. You know, when your parents get divorced, there's obviously a disagreement. There's obviously a change in lifestyle. She made sacrifices for us. My father's still coming home to spend time with us, staying in our house, and she would leave sometimes. Sometimes she wouldn't, but she would do that because she thought it was in the best interest of her 5 boys. And that's a sacrifice not a lot of people who are divorced would do, by the way.
No.
I don't see that very often, but she did that.
So if you had one more Mother's Day, one more hour with her, what would you say to her?
You're killing me. You know, the thing I think about all day long, and I somewhat referenced this before, is that, you know, I did wanted nothing more than to have my parents proud of me. And proud of not just what you accomplish professionally, but more importantly, the person that you are and what you do in life and how you do it and the type of person you are and the fact that you pursued your own passion. And I guess I'd just like to know she's proud.
That is really wonderful. And Suzanne?
We have time for just a few questions.
Hey, Roger, thank you so much for coming today. I actually have
I'm not going to wish you Happy Mother's Day.
I actually have 2 questions for you. So you had such nice things to say about the memories of your mother and the kind of impact she had on you. But when you think about yourself, what are some of the core values that you want to be remembered by?
Respect for people, respect for your families, respect for the people you work with and the people you deal with every day. Hard work, determination, an ability to overcome obstacles. You know, the fact is, professionally, as an example, that I set myself on a goal of working for the National Football League, and I am only the 3rd commissioner since 1960. Wow. So the chances of that happening are pretty slim, by the way. And as a matter of fact, I think my mother thought I was nuts, and my father, but they always encouraged that.
Did you tell your mother you wanted to be the commissioner of the NFL?
This is a true story. When I graduated from college in 1981, I wrote to my father with a copy to my mom saying that the 2 things in life I wanted was make you proud and be commissioner of the NFL. And I have it in writing.
Wow.
So I can show it to you. Now, I think I was a little naive to think about the commissioner of the NFL, and it was more a dream of working for the commissioner, really. I think anybody who said at 22 years old that you're going to end up being commissioner in the NFL is probably dreaming a little bit. So those, and I think just overall character and knowing who you are. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is getting a full understanding of who are you and what makes you tick and what difference can you make in the world. And that is the struggle that most people go through life. I do not struggle with that. I feel very comfortable who I am, what I'm about, and I'm not perfect. I'm first to tell you that, but I feel strongly about what I represent, the people I represent, and what I'm from, meaning my mom and my dad and my family. So, that's, at the end of the day, if you can get comfortable with that, you're going to be okay in life.
All right, and switching gears a little bit to football, what did you think of the draft in Chicago? Did you enjoy yourself there? And also, what do you think the odds are that it'll return to New York for next year?
Are you from Chicago or New York? That's the first thing I want to know.
Neither.
We had an incredible experience in Chicago. They did a fantastic job. It was better than we ever expected. And for those of you who don't know, we had the draft in New York since 1965, I believe. 64 was the last draft that was outside of New York, and it happened to be in Chicago. Radio City, where we had it, couldn't host us this year until June, so we said, well, we'll go on the road. We went to Chicago. We had, depending on your estimates, the mayor of Chicago told me yesterday it was 250,000. I've heard somewhere close to 225. Either way, it's extraordinary that you could have that many people come out, celebrate football in the off season, while basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs, baseball season going on. The Kentucky Derby was happening last week, and they called it Epic Saturday last week, and people were focusing on the draft. That's pretty extraordinary, and we owe a lot of credit to the people of Chicago, the leadership, including the mayor and all of his people, but also our staff, who did an amazing job, just an incredible job taking a vision and executing on it. I don't know where the future is. We want to take a little bit of time and evaluate. Do we keep taking it on the road? Do we come back to New York? Do we stay in Chicago? I think everything's on the table, and we'll have to evaluate that.